Thanks for coming out and watching the oxymoronic Reddit Professional Show, where I showcase the best and worst of the internet. Here I comment on brilliant and hilarious comment chains regarding dumb shit on the internet for you to enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell button so that you get notifications every time we come up with a new video. Enjoy this week's show.
Life pro tip: don't use your child's embarrassing stories as dinner party talk. They are your child's personal memories, and humiliating them for a laugh isn't cool. I've probably listened to my mum tell one particularly cringe-worthy story dozens of times, and I think everyone she knows has been told it. Every time she tells it, most of the time in front of me, I just want to crawl under the table and hide. However, that would give her another humiliating story to tell. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have a right to humiliate them for a laugh. I do think that telling about something cute they once did, pronouncing something wrong, for example, is different to an embarrassing story, but if your child doesn't like you telling about it, then you should still find something else to talk about. My mother used to do this all the time when I was growing up, and I hated it. I asked her to not tell those stories because I felt embarrassed by them, but nothing made her stop. That is until I told a highly embarrassing story about her on a family gathering. Then suddenly she was all understanding and empathic and suggested we keep some things a secret. I started replying by giving more context to point out how the thing they thought was so funny was actually super fucking hurtful, or the result, or them being shitty, because it usually was. Just gotta keep a level tone and neutral pleasant expression. Haha. One time daughter locked herself in her room for like 3 days because we threw away a shirt she hadn't worn in years, and it was so old you could read a newspaper though it LOL, and I'm like, I remember. It was a shirt I bought to match my best friend who moved away a year later, remember Cindy? It was a really important memento of a really important friendship. I stopped wearing it so I wouldn't accidentally ruin it or anything. Wish I'd kept more things like that so I could have them today. Super small smile shrug. Just nukes the conversation without accusing them of anything or directly calling them asshole. That's exactly what I did. My mom would let everyone know how underweight I was when I was younger, which I'm insecure about. So I'd just add in that I didn't eat as much because I didn't want to be at home a lot and wasn't able to eat. Which was true. So now my mom feels like a bad mom, which she was, and she shut up about it. Counterpoint: you should be able to do both of the following things. Laugh at yourself, especially when it comes to something in the past. Speak to someone in a sensible way if you don't like a particular story being told in public. It's not your parents' fault that you're an embarrassment to yourself, and if you can't laugh at stupid childhood memories being brought up, then you need to grow up. I agree with this to an extent. Life is way easier if you just laugh everything off. But I do feel like everyone has a right to not share every personal detail about their life. Especially something that humiliated them. And children have a particularly awful situation where parents feel like since they were involved in the humiliating story they can tell it. I don't think that's right. People who tell other people's humiliating stories would never tell their most embarrassing memory, so why tell their kid's story? If you want to make people laugh through humiliation, put yourself on the chopping block. Then you simply ask whoever is repeating these stories to stop doing so. If they continue, yeah, fair play, they're in the wrong. But sulking about people telling funny stories just because they involve you, doing nothing to rectify the situation, and just expecting them to stop is mental. Yeah, it can be bad. There was one really embarrassing story that my mother would tell about a cousin I disliked. Even though I disliked him, it was painful to hear from me as a person with empathy, because it was very specific about a physical condition he had. It was not her business to out him like that. My mother has always been a narcissistic pathological liar, and she loves to gossip and spread around her shit to and about literally anyone. She's done it since I was a small child. She used to make up these crazy lies about my dad, who raised me, because she bailed to go whoring around when I was 2, and I don't spend much time with her, but when I do, I see and hear this stuff all the time. She can't keep her own lies straight either. I've given up trying to defend myself to people about lies my mother has told people about me. It's just too bad that no one else seems to see that she is the way she is. Every time my stepdad leaves the room, she just bitches about him behind his back. And her mother died back in March. Her funeral was last week. The service was over in under 5 minutes because no one had anything nice to say or any good memories to share. I'm glad she's dead because she was a garbage human being. And I'm especially glad now that I don't have to listen to my mother bitch constantly about her mother saying and doing the same exact things that she does. Obviously I'll feel bad when my mom dies, but probably not as bad as I should. She's done irreparable damage to me since I was born, and she's never even tried to make things right. Not that she really can in a lot of ways. It's hard to make things right when you literally can't remember which lies you've told to whom. I really wish my little brother would see this part of her rather than the part of her that lies and twists every single thing about my life to him. I hate my family. And it's a direct result of their bullying and abuse and lies. So much abuse. So many issues. Sorry for rambling, I'm broken due to my parents. And even as I'm nearing death, these things still hurt and cripple me in ways. And now they're doing this on Facebook. I was just about to comment on this. The digital footprint parents are creating for their kids is awful. Our old neighbor overshares everything about her life and boys, and they're reaching social media ages. Honestly. One time my mother told our entire family my first boyfriend physically assaulted me during Christmas dinner. Yeah, my stepmom is famous for bringing up literally your worst memories/traumas at big family dinner/gatherings. Remember when you were 8 months pregnant and Sean would yell and scream at you all through the night so you couldn't get any sleep and you'd call us crying? No. I'd actually blocked that out, but thank you for reminding me and telling other people, and not just family, that are sitting at this table. Super. And they wonder why I never visit anymore or really speak to them. It's probably been 6+ months since I've even spoken to my father because my stepmom will be running her mouth the entire time in the background and I literally can't stand to hear the sound of her voice. Child has a parent who does this. Child stops telling them anything. Parent, why don't you tell us anything? Facts. And they also ask that when they're the ones constantly judging my decisions and saying no every single time I want to go out, pre-COVID. Like you'll have literally conditioned me to hide things from you. Yep. I don't tell them anything now. Not even serious things about my life because they will treat it like gossip. I also don't want my kids around them. My dad started mocking my nephew for liking girly stuff and having girly hair, and I told him to grow up in front, not the child. Told him that things are not bad because girls like them and having long hair isn't girly anyway. He needed to grow up and be a big boy like X, who is 4. The 60-year-old man sulked for the rest of the day. Tell us your embarrassing story, get your power back. Once I pooped my pants at church and ditched my shower in a bathroom stall behind the toilet. Later in the service the pastor said due to an incident in the men's bathroom we all needed to respect the toilets and parents teach their children about respect. My parents made jokes about some kid shit their pants the whole way home, saying how the parents must. Little did they know, they were those parents. Bum. But nah, they still don't know. During my teens my parents didn't allow me to have snacks after coming home from school even if I was hungry. I usually broke this rule by sneaking cereal after school, and they never found out because it was so consistent that it just looked like that's the amount of cereal we eat in the morning. One time, I was having a bowl of cereal in the living room and my mom unexpectedly came home, so I hid it behind the sofa, thinking I'd get it later. Of course, I forgot, and 2 days later I left for a school trip with the bowl still sitting there. Apparently, several days later the milk going sour stunk up the house so badly that my parents torn apart the living room and found the bowl. My father then, for the next 20 years, proceeded to tell every single one of my male friends, whether I was dating them or not, that they shouldn't date me, because I'd be a slob and a bad housekeeper, because I shoved my dirty dishes behind furniture instead of taking them to the kitchen to clean them. That's not even the worst story he tells of me, but it's the one that somehow bugs me the most because in the other ones, at least I legit fucked something up and so it was my fault that the story exists, which isn't an excuse to share it with everybody, but at least it was my fault to begin with. In this case, he's somehow thinking he's making me look bad, when really what that story says is, your 14-year-old daughter was so afraid to be mercilessly punished for being hungry and eating some food, that you ended up with your house physically stinking as a manifestation of how rotten and corrupt your parenting skills are. My mom used to tell people that I had no problems embarrassing her in public. One day at the grocery store, we were waiting in line to check out, and the guy ahead of us was in a wheelchair. I tapped the man on the shoulder, and when he turned around, I must have decided to impart some 4-year-old sage advice to him. Mister, did you know that if you pray to Jesus really hard? At this point, my mom is trying to hide behind her cart, because she thinks her daughter is about to tell this man that he'll be able to walk again with Jesus' help. The man must have assumed the same, because mom said he wore a tired, sad smile as he listened to me. Jesus will give you a faster wheelchair. The poor man nearly fell out of his chair laughing, and of course, my mom was every shade of red there was. The people ahead of my new friend were laughing too, and so was the cashier. Poor mom. She's never let me live that one down, LOL. As a wheelchair user, I would have probably cried happy tears along with laughing. You have no idea how good it would feel to have a little kid come up to me and basically tell me they see me as a whole person and not someone who needed to be fixed. It would have made my f***ing week.
If you enjoyed this week's effective way to waste time, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you are enjoying the series, leave me a comment below. A special shout out to the content creators. You frickin' rock.